Hi there, Sandra here from the Schwowin's Nest. Thanks for joining me today. My first project is making over this wooden pig that I picked up at the thrift store. It was part of my thrift haul. I don't remember how much I paid for it, but it probably was only $3 or $4. I got my inspiration from this pig that came from the Kirkland's website. Now, that pig I think he's metal, but that's okay. I'm going to make this guy look as much like him as I can, although I am going to kind of change out the painting technique. What I'm doing here is just adding some spackling to the center portion of the pig on both sides to give him a little bit more dimension. I've sanded down the spackling, cleaned him all up, and now he's ready for paint. I'm going to give him a couple of coats of white chalk paint, and this is just my DIY concoction that I use for chalk paint. And once he's dry, then I'll be able to start giving him more of a distressed look. Now that the paint is dry, I can start distressing. I'm using a regular kitchen sponge and some gray chalk paint, and I'm just going to go around the edges of the pig, making sure that the edge has lots more paint and then there's not as much paint on the flat surface as you can see me doing here. I did this technique on a picture a while ago and it turned out beautiful, so I thought I would give it a try. Doing it a little differently than the Kirkland's inspiration, but that's okay. It's an inspiration. I can do whatever I want. The one thing I love about painting things is that if you make a mistake or it turns out the way you didn't envision it, you can change it. Just go ahead and add some more white paint to the gray if you added too much gray. Or if you want more gray, then add more gray. The paint is really something that you can fix up and just change to your heart's desire. So don't be afraid to just get in there, give it a try. If it doesn't turn out, just change it up a little bit. Next, I'm going to take the same sponge. I have not washed it. It's still got gray paint on it. I'm just going to dip it into some of this burnt umber paint and go around the whole edges of the pig again, giving it a little bit more dimension and a little bit more of a rustic look. Once I was done with the brown, I just took the sponge and started rubbing it over the white space on the pig. And this just gave it more of a distressed look. I just had to kind of go over it and all of the raised edges on the circle there where his little belly is just picked up a lot of the texture. And I really love how this guy turned out. I wanted him to have a stand, so I'm taking one of these wood signs that you can get at Dollar Tree and at Dollarama. That's where I got this one. And I'm just using my Mitre Box and my saw to cut down the length I need. Once I had it cut, I gave it one good coat of the gray paint, and now I'm just going to glue the pig right on top of the wood stand. I'm going to use my HeatnBond glue, which of course is my favorite glue in the world. I do have a link for that down in my description box if you're interested in trying it out. And I'm just going to set it here and let it dry. Here's how he turned out. I hope you're enjoying the video so far, and if you're into farmhouse decor like I am, I would love it if you could stick around by hitting that subscribe button. I'd also like to thank all of my current subscribers. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks so much for your support. For this project, I'm using this huge sign that I picked up at the thrift store. I was so excited when I found this. It was $5.99 and it's got some different markings. It's kind of yellowish in some spots. I don't know if somebody used this as a tray. There's sort of a circle mark on the one corner there, which might have been a water stain. But anyway, I'm just going to freshen it up with a really quick coat of white chalk paint. If you've been following me on my channel, you know that one of my favorite ways to create signs is to print on tissue paper. If you've never done that before, I'll have a link for a full tutorial down in my description box. It took me a while to create these graphics because they're so big, but I will have the free printable available on my website. That link is also down in my description box. I'm going to apply these with Mod Podge, and I'm going to use a little bit down at the bottom, and I'm going to do this section by section. Normally when I'm using smaller pieces, I'll just put the Mod Podge on my project wherever I need the label or the image to go, but I decided because these are larger pieces, I would just do a bit at a time. So you can see that I've put a layer of Mod Podge, and now I'm going to set my first little pail down and then just work it with my brush, making sure that it's always got some Mod Podge on it. If your brush is too dry, you're going to tear the tissue paper. So I'm going to continue to just add this all the way to the top of this beautiful lavender bucket, and then I'll continue on with my other two pieces. Here's what the sign looks like so far. I also printed all of the text using the tissue paper, but you could use stencils or you could use stickers. Whatever you happen to have in your stash, that's what you could use. And if you have a Cricut, by all means, go for using the Cricut. I just didn't feel like doing that today. I'm taking a small little chip brush and I'm just going to add an arrow on one side and then the back end of the arrow on the other side. Then I'll take a little bit of white paint and just kind of stipple it onto the arrow to make it look a little bit more old and distressed. I am in love with this sign. I love how big it is and how big the graphics turned out. I'm going to be hanging this in my bedroom. I'm slowly changing it over to rustic farmhouse style. This project is using this old terracotta pot that's had a crackle finish on since the 80s. And if you can imagine, that crackle finish is coming back in style. Anyhow, I'm not going to use the crackle finish on it for this project. I'm going to give it one good coat of this dark gray chalk paint and let that dry. Now I'm going to go over it with this chip brush and my mushroom chalk paint, which is a cross between gray and beige. It's just a latex paint. It's by Glidden, and I just wanted to use some of this and make some texture on this pot. I'm going to go all the way around it, and I'm going to also include some of the inside as well, just in case you see that when the flowers are in it. Now I'm going to do some stamping. I found a cute little set of stamps from Amazon. I'll have both the sets that I purchased down in my description box, although I'm only going to be using the one set for this project. This is a little bit of a script. It is in English, I think, but it's really hard to tell because it's just so darn tiny. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and just place this on a little bit of an angle on my pot and very gently holding the stamp in place, just run my fingers across it to get all the ink stuck onto the pot. And this turns out really nice. It's a really pretty small script, and I think it'll be perfect for a bunch of different small projects. Before I move on to some of the rubber stamps I'm going to use for this project, I'm going to make sure to use the butterfly as well. I always leave the backing on my stamps because that just makes it easier to work with. One thing you've got to do is make sure your stamps are clean. I have this rubber stamp cleaning set from my scrapbooking days, and it still works really well. And you can also wash this insert here. It's sort of like a sponge kind of thing. You spray the spritz on one side, clean off your stamp, and then dry it on the other side. And this just makes really quick work of getting all the ink off and really preserving all of your stamps, including rubber stamps. This type of method is good for everything. I will try to find a link for something similar to this for cleaning materials on Amazon, and hopefully I'll be able to have that linked down in my description box. Now I'm just going to go ahead and use some of these cute little rubber stamps that I got from Michael's in a pack of 4, and just place them all over the pot wherever I think it looks pretty. Once I have this pot fully complete, I'm going to add some tulips. I found some really beautiful ivory colored tulips at Michael's, and I thought this would be a perfect little pot to have all of these tulips and some little berries stuck in here. So unfortunately, I forgot to film that part of the video where I was putting everything together. I thought I had pressed the record button, but I had inadvertently turned it off instead. So I do apologize for that, but you'll be able to see the finished product here. And I think this one turned out pretty beautiful as well. I hope you enjoyed my projects today and got some inspiration to create some farmhouse home decor for yourself. Please make sure you do all the things. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell and click all so you're always notified whenever I upload something new. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.